All right, so on the line right now, got a Yakima's very own Christopher Sweeney, born in Toppenish and graduated from high school right here in Yakima, and is one of the stars in the movie Neither Wolf Nor Dog. So how you been so far?
I'm doing great. I'm thrilled with the run of this film. It's just, and especially at a Yakima, I couldn't be more pleased.
Now, you're originally here from Yakima. Did you graduate from Ike, or which school did you graduate from?
I did. I graduated from Eisenhower in 1988.
1980. Okay, that's like 4 years before I was born. So nice.
There we go. There we go. I just dated myself. That's wonderful.
So I actually checked this film, watch it, support it, do some research on it. Now, my first question is, what got you involved in this project?
I was doing a theater production, a native theater production at the Autry Museum. They have a Native Voices program. I was referred by another actor friend, military veteran, Stefan Wolfert, to Randy Reinholtz over at the Native Voices program. He cast me, and I was on stage, the only white guy on stage, kind of like in the film. And Steven Simpson was there. I believe that he was there, if I'm correct. It's been a few years, scouting Native talent.
Okay.
And he found me, and he pulled me aside, and he said, "Hey, I think I might have found my Kent Nurburn, aside from almost a spitting image of what Kent looked like about 20 years ago and myself." And then things just started to proceed. Did a little screen test with Zon McLaren, who's also in the film and a producer on the film. Many of you probably know Zon from numerous different television productions. But and then I heard back from Steven about 8 months later, and he said, "Let's grab a cup of coffee."
Nice.
So everything just kind of culminated in a non orthodox way, and I thought he was just going to say, "Hey, I'm headed out to shoot the film. I cast someone else, but thanks for auditioning." He basically said over a cup of coffee, "How long until you could go to Pine Ridge?" And I said, "As long as it takes me to pack a bag."
So not that long then, right?
Well, we ended up having to put up a Kickstarter campaign to raise just enough money to be able to just shoot it on a shoestring budget, 18-day shoot with a 2-man crew. So it violates and almost every tenet as far as what's typical in Hollywood. It was very much a guerrilla style shoot.
Yeah, and just so you know, myself, I am Native American. I'm enrolled with the Yakima Nation, with the tribe. That's where I live. And just watching this movie, I enjoyed it. And just not to give everything away, there was a purpose on why your character was called to the res. And so you had quite a few intense scenes in there. So what was it like filming this movie on the Pine Ridge Reservation?
Well, intense is a good word at the outset because I'll be perfectly honest, having grown up in the Yakima Valley doesn't necessarily translate into a lot of time spent with the Yakima Nation.
Yeah.
So aside from being born at an IHS hospital, I basically just went back home. I grew, was born and raised until I left for the Marine Corps. I was a little leery going out because I had heard so much about, the media reports on Pine Ridge in a very negative light.
Yeah.
A lot of times. Once I got out there, it was 1 or 2 days of rapid indoctrination, meeting numerous people of the Lakota, and I just settled in very naturally. It was very. It just felt extremely organic. I'm sure, large in part because Stephen had spent so much time on the reservation and knew so many people. He was able to give me, a lot of introductions that were received extremely well, and they were excited because they knew Kent's book, and very curious, if not excited, curious to see how a white Scottishman and a kid from the Pacific Northwest were able to translate the novel into film form.
Yeah, because I talked to Steven earlier, the director of Neither Wolf Nor Dog, and it basically been a perspective like, he was not the typical white American director. He actually came from another country to do this movie, which is ironic to me. He's doing this movie. It's a Native American film, but at the same time, he has your character in this. It's kind of like how what your character did going to the reservations, like, hey, what's going on? Why am I here? Especially in this case. And with your character Nurburn, how did you prepare for this role?
Well, I spent hours out of Los Angeles talking with Kent himself, Kent Nurburn, who I play, just because I wanted to get an understanding of what type of man he is, so that I
Okay.
could be more accurate in my depiction. So I did the typical character work that you would do, and then once I got out to the reservation, I was face to face with Kent for a good week, living out of the same house. So we got to know each other quite well, and we really came to understand that we are two very different type people. So we had to go through and figure out what a delicate way was of dealing with some of these altercations with Winona, the Dan character's granddaughter. There was a
Yeah.
blow up scene there. Richard Ray Whitman and I had a go around in the film. And initially, Ken showed a little bit of concern in regards to, would he ever actually even yell at someone who he was frustrated with that was native. He felt like he would have taken a much more deferent and kind of understanding, taking the historical circumstances into effect and not lose his temper.
Yeah.
And we basically came to an understanding that, in film, it's different than a novel. Novels are much more meditative and reflective. And I tried to explain to Ken how necessary in a film it is for the story to move along to have flashpoints of conflict. So I convinced him, and when he saw the footage, he was pleased. He quite pleased that it had been played out that way, because it just showed much more of a nuanced approach to the whole growth process of
Yeah.
Kent while he was on the reservation, starting off as someone who felt like he had a pretty good grasp on native cultures, and then soon came to realize through his midlife coming of life story that he didn't know as much as he had driven onto a reservation thing.
Yeah.
So it showed more of an arc of a character.
Yeah, and just watching the movie with the Nurburgring, the character you play, that's the sense I got at the same time. It's like, yeah, I know a lot about the native culture, and then you go to the reservation, and it's like I didn't know as much as I thought I did. So now, right after you graduate, you went to the military. Now, what made you decide to do that?
I came from a broken home. My folks split up when I was, I believe, 14 years old. I lost focus on curriculum in high school. I saw a lot of my close friends going off and planning on going off to University of Washington, WSU, going into the fraternity system, and it just wasn't for me. I had gone up to visit some of these places, and it just wasn't the culture that I was interested in delving into. So I really wanted a challenge, and being that I had somewhat of an athletic background, and I was a wrestler, having pulled out of my athletic programs because of a torn rotator cuff during a wrestling match,
Okay.
I felt like I really hadn't proved it to myself. It's proved nothing, and I thought, what's the most difficult thing I could do? And there it was, the Marine Corps.
Well, all right, cool, awesome. So, first off, things for serving the country. Now, what made you decide to become an actor? What made you go towards that route?
Well, I had been in the arts as a child. My mother was a beautiful vocalist and painter, and she liked to bring me into the fray. And so I was a visual artist, and I did some performing. And then once I took that Marine Corps route, it was almost as though that had been stripped away from me.
Okay.
So when I got out of the military and realized that regimented life wasn't the one that I wanted to live, I wanted to be more of a free thinker and critically observe the world around me. I started to sing in a band, and then I had a friend suggest maybe you should do some stage work because it helps free you up in your body while you're up there with a microphone in your hands singing rock and roll. And I took my first class, and that was the direction that I wanted to go in.
All right, awesome. Now, so another question is, now, do you have any advice for anybody who wants to go into the entertainment business, but is kind of hesitant or just doesn't know exactly if they want to go down the route? Any advice to give them?
Travel. That one word advice, travel. The more you're experienced in different cultures, the more more empathy you have for various people's the more understanding of the human condition you have, and that just really sets you straight. So if you're entertaining a career that maybe has some pressure from parents or from friends or just the culture that you live in, you're going to figure out very quickly whether or not that's what you were meant to do. And then if you need to shift gears and move in a different direction, you're much better prepared to do so, I believe.
Okay, awesome. So again, Christopher Sweeney on the line, co-star of the movie Neither Wolf Nor Dog, which is in Yakima theaters right now. You can actually check out more details on the Facebook page for Neither Wolf Nor Dog, or check out more details for showtimes at yakimatheaters.com. So Chris, hey, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day, and thank you so much, for giving back to Yakima at the same time, just as a local actor, doing big things here in the big screen.
D-Rez, pleasure. Thank you for enduring my gravelly voice.
No worries.